So what I've got in my hand right now is the remnant of an Al-Qassam rocket. Now this is the flagship weapon of the Hamas. So this isn't a replica, this is an actual rocket that has been recovered after a particular attack. Obviously we're told that we can't touch any of the rockets that land here in Sderot because there are booby traps. Many of them are misfired rockets, so they may not have exploded. But this is actually what it looks like. It's a pretty heavy thing. Many such debris are already there and are part of investigation. But this kind of know-how, you can see the tail fins, you can see the booster module. The very thick metallic fabrication shows that the Hamas has been able to garner this kind of know-how sitting inside Gaza. They do get rocket technology from Iran as well, but the know-how to convert everyday metal tubes from pipes, etc., into usable rockets that have wrought so much devastation is a matter of great concern, especially since Hamas is able to make these kinds of rockets sitting inside Gaza using materials that they're able to smuggle into Gaza. So the Al-Qassam rocket is something that has been used in its thousands, including on the October 7th attack. Thousands of these were used to try and overwhelm the Iron Dome system as well. Even now, as we stand here, there have been air raid sirens with rockets of this kind still landing. So, over 2 weeks into the operation against Hamas, they're sending Al-Qassam rockets still into Israel.
The big focus continues to remain the 200 hostages that are still inside the Gaza Strip in the captivity of the Hamas. So they're all perhaps in some of the buildings that you can see in these pictures. We don't know. Are they in the north? Are they in the south? There is no idea. The fact that 2 hostages were released has actually piled on the tension and suspense over what's going to really happen, because the big question continues to be, if this is phase 1, what is phase 2 and phase 3 going to look like? Are negotiations really happening where the non-military hostages from Gaza will all be released very quickly? We don't know just yet, but in the interim at least, while that attains a semblance of clarity, Israel is not backing off, not even an inch, not even for a minute. We're reporting now from Kibbutz Be'eri, which is one of the closest agricultural communes to the Gaza Strip. This is a kibbutz where the destruction is not only apparent, but the void that's been left behind is particularly devastating. Over 100 people were massacred by the Hamas right here at this particular kibbutz. The destruction is very, very plain to see. But worse than that, over 100 hostages were taken from just this one kibbutz, which means that over 100 of 200 plus hostages that are currently in Gaza in the captivity of the Hamas terrorist group are from this kibbutz alone. The destruction is not just in terms of the little pieces of houses that you can see here, but the damage has been devastating pretty much throughout the kibbutz. Lots of farms and fields have been destroyed as a result of rocket fire. As you can see, huge amount of structural damage to all of the structures here at this particular kibbutz. And as we continue to report here, the Israel army has completely come in and taken over. They've got tanks stationed outside. They've got a lot of personnel deployed here who are obviously going to be here. None of the people who survived obviously are still at this kibbutz, but hopefully they will make their way back at some point of time. But it's just destruction as far as the eye can see in Kibbutz Be'eri. Israel actually took another step which is also very interesting and serves as a kind of precursor to what's going to happen today. They invited international journalists to the world-renowned forensic laboratory here in Israel to inspect for themselves the post-mortem reports and some of the remains. There were small bags of body parts. Some of them actually got a chance to see slides, of those parts removed. So they actually got to see what happened to hundreds of these Israelis who were butchered on October the 7th. So it creates a mood, it creates a narrative, it puts the facts on the ground. Israel has so far held back on releasing too much information about what happened on October the 7th. But now it believes that the international pressure has gotten a little too much. Even President Biden has been repeatedly cautioning about what's happening in Gaza. He's released, aid into Palestine. He's talked about a 2-state solution. So Israel believes even though it has its allies, international support for more violence is running a little thin, and that's why it needs to create a case. And by putting out these shocking, unbridled, uncensored pictures, it believes the world will once again be reminded of what happened on October the 7th, and therefore a mood could be created to support what's coming next. Well, the release of body cam footage over 2 weeks after the Hamas terrorist attack on October the 7th is Israel creating a case and reminding the world of the barbarity that was unleashed by Hamas terrorists, resulting in the deaths of 1,400 civilians and many hostages being taken as well. Israel, remember, has been watching, with a sense of dismay, the kind of narratives that have been built in other parts of the world, especially in the Arab world. They acknowledge calls for calm amidst a humanitarian crisis in Gaza, but they have resolutely stood by their right to defend themselves and avenge the deaths of all those, who were killed by the Hamas. Therefore, the release of body cam footage, which we are told according to our sources within the system, are uncensored, horrifying, unedited footage recorded from the GoPro body cams that the Hamas terrorists wore when they went about their massacre and killing spree, is going to be perhaps the most jarring, most terrifying case that Israel can actually make, for what it has been doing so far in terms of airstrikes and what it proposes to do as far as the decimation of Hamas is concerned. Remember, we've heard the worst of humanity over the last few days and weeks. Butchered babies, families burnt alive, the elderly, tortured, people tied up and burnt in their houses. I've been visiting kibbutzes where, the destruction has been plain to see. Therefore, I think the body cam footage is Israel saying, I think the world needs a reminder of why we need to do this. Hostilities on Israel's northern border with Lebanon by the Hezbollah, cruise missiles launched by the Houthi militants in Yemen, both big proxies of Iran, mean that this has already become an international conflict. The United States deployment in the Persian Gulf and the Mediterranean Sea means that this is already a West Asian crisis that involves other countries beyond just Israel and Palestine. And that's the reason why every next step holds the potential for a catastrophic miscalculation. What if what if Iran is forced to get involved directly? What if, the conventional weapons belonging to the Hezbollah are used in a much larger way, much more than just the kind of pinprick testing that's just happening on the northern borders with Lebanon? All of these factors mean that Israel is fully prepared. We've been speaking to the IDF. We spent an entire day with them at the Kibbutz Be'eri in South Israel yesterday. And I can tell you that the entire situation is on tenterhooks at this point of time. And Israel is hoping that it doesn't need to open another front in the north. It doesn't want to go to war with Iran. But they say if they're forced to do so, they will. If you like the video, do like, comment, share and subscribe.